Jump the gun. Welcome to the Milburn Township Planning Board meeting. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board at Town Hall and serving the officially designated newspapers a list of the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place at the Milburn Board of Education, Education Center Building at 7:30 p.m. on December 17th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Corey Biller,
Here.
Allison Campfield,
Here.
Michael Cohen,
Here.
Jorge Mastropetro, Deborah Neves,
Here.
Frank Sacamandi,
Here.
Michael Zion,
Here.
Jonathan Baxter,
Here.
Sergey Sibsto,
Here.
Vice Chair Srini Vijay,
Here.
Chair Gaston Happer.
Here. On tonight's agenda, we have a little housekeeping to do at the beginning. And I think we would like to switch up the order of business. We'll do the application before the executive session and then finish the night with the executive session. And yeah, I guess we'll be turning off the cameras and won't be bringing them back on after we enter executive session. So to start out, did everybody receive the meeting minutes of October 15th for the regular meeting? Are there any questions, comments? Nope. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for October 15th, 2025? Six. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstentions will be noted.
Motion passes unanimously. The next up is the regular meeting minutes from November 5th, 2025. Did everybody receive those? And are there any questions or comments?
So moved.
Motion to approve. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Abstentions will be noted.
Motion passes unanimously. And lastly, for the minutes of the evening, for the November 5th executive session, did everybody receive those? And are there any questions, comments? Nope. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, just on the resolution, section on the agenda, we approved this resolution or adopted this resolution last time. It's just a notification that everything is in order. All right, next to the application for the evening, application 25006. It's an amendment to the approved site plan for Compass New Jersey LLC, located at 378 Milburn Ave, block 801, lot 601. Is there a representation for Compass New Jersey LLC?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Anthony Cercillo with the law offices of Levitt and Cercillo in Milburn on behalf of the applicant. Thank you. On March 2, 2022, we obtained preliminary and final site plan approval, including signage variances for the development of the mixed-use building now at 378 Milburn Avenue. On behalf of the applicant, Compass New Jersey LLC, and with the consent of the property, we seek an amended site plan approval for the proposed Compass name sign in lieu of the building name sign. The proposed Compass sign will be positioned in the same location on the easterly overhang portion of the building, above the entrance driveway, at a height of 15 feet 10 inches. And the proposed Compass sign will have a smaller graphic area of 17.81 square feet and 18-inch lettering. The mounted height of the proposed sign extends 10 inches over the second floor line. The planning board heretofore granted a variance for that building name sign. We now seek a variance from this board for the proposed Compass name sign in lieu of building sign name. A proof of service and proof of publication was submitted to the planning board secretary on December 11th. I had one witness. There any questions?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, before I swear in the witness and the our board professionals with the chair's permission, as always, I do want to reflect on the record that I did have an opportunity to review the notice. I found the content of the notice to be sufficient. I found it to be timely served and published. Certified mail December 4 service and publication on December 7, both of those dates being at least 10 days prior to this evening. Therefore, it's my opinion that the board does have jurisdiction to hear and decide the application this evening. So that addresses that issue.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome, counsel. And when ready, I can swear in the witness and
Thank you.
our board professional.
Mr. Richard Keller.
And if you'll raise your right hand as well as our board professionals, do all of you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you all. Please proceed with the chair's permission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Keller, please give the board the benefit of your credentials in the fields of civil engineering and professional.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Richard Keller. I am a principal with the firm of Casey and Keller located here in Melbourne. I am a licensed engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey for the last more than 35 years. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering with concentration in water resources and environmental engineering. That is from Rutgers University. And I also hold a master's degree in architecture with a concentration in urban planning and design. That is from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, where I was also an adjunct professor in both the graduate and undergraduate divisions for 11 years. I appeared before this board, for approximately 110 boards throughout the state of New Jersey. I have offered planning services to the borough of Caldwell, and I have provided engineering services to the Board of Adjustment Planning Board in Baltimore for 3 years. Just took another 15 hours of water resource training, so my licenses are in effect, and it's always nice to be back at work.
So, Mr. Chairman, is he qualified as experts in both?
As usual, he is qualified as an expert in civil engineering and professional planning for this board. Thank you.
Thank
And just for the record, we are not related in any way.
Business wise or otherwise.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
you. Yes, the site, as you have it before you, and I can see, the property is 378 Melbourne Avenue. It is lot 6.0 with block 8.801. It is across the street from the parking lots that are behind or adjacent to the town hall. It's a relatively new building that sits between the Schoolhouse Plaza and Clemenza's Joey's Tap Room on the south side of Melbourne Avenue. As indicated, we came before this board back in late 2021, 2022, and received approval for a site plan that included some signage variance. I'll go through this in a second. If you look at the right side of our drawing, you'll see the darker blue section is the portion of the building that comes down to the one-story footprint. The lighter blue is where the second and third floors extend over the two-way driveway that provides access to 10 parking spaces at the rear of the property. At the time, we received variance relief under the C2 criteria for 2 sign variances. The signage that was over each of the entrances was fully conforming, but we did request relief for a directory sign that would face in this little nook here. I'm pointing to the survey and site plan on our sheet. Amended preliminary and final site plan, which is dated 11/07/2025, and it's identical to the drawing that you have in your packet, so I don't think we need to mark it as evidence. But on the where the
I'm sorry, you do not, but if you didn't mention it, can you please mention, and even if you did, start here, the date and sheet number that you're referring to?
Again, it's amended preliminary final site plan. It is dated 11/07/2025 and in sheet 1.
Thank you.
And so if you see that lighter section where the second floor extends, it's approximately 6 feet back from the main line of the facade. We received a variance to put a directory sign on the east facing or left facing facade. That was about 23 square feet. And that was just so the pedestrians that were walking to the right or to the west along Milburn Avenue could see the directory. They would understand that to go to the second floor commercial space or the apartments, you would come down the sidewalk into the rear door where there's an elevator and stairs at the second and third floors. The second sign, we received variance, or we needed a variance for that because facades can only sit on the front, signs can only sit on the front facade, that's a side facing facade. For that variance was granted. We also needed a variance to place a sign over the driveway because to mount a sign in that location, it had to go above the floor plate of the second floor above. And our ordinance does not permit signage to go above the first floor or block any architectural features. So to fit a sign over that, we needed variance relief. Normally, lettering on signage in the E4 Central Business District can be as much as 24 inches. We agreed to keep that sign to 18-inch lettering and a total of 35 square feet. If I go to the other sheet that's in your package, that was Studio 1200 plan, 378 Milburn Avenue mixed-use project. Second floor exterior sign is sheet A5A. And that is dated 11/07/2025. You'll see that under the lower section of the drawing, the north elevation, you'll see the permitted signage on the first floor. You'll see retail 1 and retail 2, and obviously the intent was never that they would say retail 1 and 2, but they would say the name of the tenant. At the time, not knowing whether that second floor would be leased to one tenant or to multiple tenants, it could have been as many as 3 commercial or office spaces. The architect, sort of as a placeholder, put building name over the driveway. Because it had to sit over the driveway, it sat, mounting height sat 10 inches above that floor plate. So we needed variance relief as part of that relief that was granted. We were codified at letters being no higher than 18 inches and the total signage area being no greater than 35 square feet. But unfortunately, when the architect put that down, rather than indicating future tenant, we just indicated building name. So since that was memorialized as part of the application, we came back and Compass has now taken a lease agreement for the entire floor. Want to put Compass there instead, but since it's not the name of the building, we are coming back for an amendment approval. I would point out that technically, if we stuck the word "the" and building at the end, which would be acceptable to the owner, it would be the Compass building and we wouldn't need to be here. But Compass didn't want a larger sign, they wanted something smaller. The lettering and signage with the little O and the slash in it really is their logo. So they really didn't want to muddy it up by making it bigger or by adding additional verbiage. So if we had called it the Compass building, we wouldn't need it. The signage as indicated was approved at 35 square feet. We're proposing 17.81 square feet, so it's considerably less than what was approved. And it is basically mounted at the same height as was previously approved. It was approved originally under C2 variance. I think it's a pretty minor change. The board at that time felt that on balance, all the variance relief that we argued for the entire property under C1 and C2, including the C2 relief for the variance for the signage, on net, the balance of the positives outweigh the negative, and we advanced the purposes of the land use act. I think that's already been done. The board's already granted that, but if we had to look at why the change from the Compass building to Compass, I think it's also still a C2 variance where it's a better alternative than a fully conforming one. I think it's better to see Compass rather than taking the full 35 square feet and saying the Compass building. It still provides for the opportunity to lease that entire space, which is no small feat for office space in the downtown or in any downtown. And it provides Compass, even though it's on a recessed panel, you look at the image, photographic image, you'll see that It's really very tastefully done on that recessed part of the building that's 6 feet back from the main facade, so it really doesn't provide enough wayfinding for people who are traveling to the east on Melbourne Avenue, but it does give the building some presence and allows confidence to put this presence on Melbourne Avenue. We feel it's a better alternative than a legally permitted one. We think it still advances the purpose of the land use act, the general welfare, because I think Compass would be reluctant to take a site if they couldn't get the signage, and also my suspicion is that they would try to put, COMPASS in the windows, which they mount them in the back, it could certainly be fully conforming. So I think it's better than the alternatives they might find, and certainly better than calling it a Compass building. So we think it advances at least two purposes of the land use act and the 4055 T2. And we feel that the fact that it is less square footage than the approved sign is also an improvement over the original application and still meets the height requirements. But I think this board can basically grant amended preliminary and final site plan approval for the sign change, either as administratively or in defense of the variance of the C2 criteria. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Chairman, if I may go out of order and I just had a clarification on the last things the witness said. First of all, that was both your engineering and your planning testimony in that sequence, correct?
Yeah, not much engineer, but I do wear both hats.
And I saw where the demarcation is. I'm sure the rest of the board did as well. You mentioned two of the purposes under D2 of zoning, and I don't believe I heard what they were, but were you referring to sub A and sub E, if you will?
Correct.
Okay, the A being
And I think actually
public health,
sub
safety, and general welfare.
General welfare,
And E being a desirable visual environment.
desirable visual environment.
But, and I cheated. I looked at the old resolution. You were the planner and the engineer there as well, correct?
Yes, I was.
And those were the bases of your C2.
Correct.
In all transparency. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Board have any questions for Mr. Keller?
I do, just clarification. They're just taking, Compass is just taking up the first floor, not the second two?
They're not taking the first one. There's a retail tenant or a golf
I
simulator
mean, the second
on the
floor.
first floor. So they're
I
taking the
apologize.
full second floor. The third floor are 3 apartments.
Thank you.
I have a question that's fairly immaterial. It's just the plan shows second floor at 15 feet. Trace it across. If that's where the bottom of the compass sign is, but then it's marked there as mounting height 15 feet 10 inches.
Yeah, the original application was indicated that that was the center line of the mounting height. So the center of the sign is mounted at 15'10", so part of the sign goes above, part of it goes below. But it's the center line is what's generally considered the mounting height for the sign.
I see. But then is the whole sign above the second floor? I guess is the question, because it shows that the bottom of the sign is at 15 feet, which is on the right hand side. Is the it's just a little bit. It is the sign 18 inches above the second floor. The application says.
I think it's actually to the top of the lettering. It's a little less than 18 inches. My understanding is that.
Oh, I see. So I thought you saying the mounting height of the sign is the center line of the sign.
The center
That
line.
is 10 inches above the. Got it. Makes sense. Right.
A procedural question. For the sake of efficiency, is there a way that if we decide to approve this, we can do it so that they don't need to come back if the tenant changes or something?
Great idea.
Oh,
We also change it so they don't have to do all of this.
That's
Yeah,
right,
we
right.
can change-
we like to change the name on the sign? Well, we have to deal with our order. So, and I'm sorry, Greg, does the ordinance allow for that?
Well, I mean, the ordinance, this is a second floor business, so, typically signage is geared towards first floor occupancy and wall facing mounted signs. So in this case, relief is granted because it is in a second floor mounted location. So, I think it is one, an ordinance question about how the ordinance to address it. But two, I do think it is germane to the proceedings here in that, this is a second floor office space that will have dedicated signage. So think it's a good question that Mr. Miller is raising about the future turnover, should there be a subsequent tenant by second floor space?
We also did think about that, and ideally, what we would like is to have this board confer that we can have a single tenant take that space. So we would, if we had 3 tenants, we wouldn't want 3 tenants on, but a single tenant could take that space, provided they met the original requirements of, and no lettering higher than 18 inches and no signage greater than 35 square feet. It'd be hard to actually get 35 square feet, but that would allow the owner the most flexibility. We hope Compass will stay there for many, many years, but if it became another company, we'd like the ability to, as Mr. Miller indicated, not come back here if it changes, but it would be for 1 tenant, not multiple tenants, and in the same location and the same square footage of the original.
And so the only change would be, that would not require coming back to the board if the board was so desirous of having that in its determination, and can do it without changing the ordinance, because we don't have that authority to change an ordinance. Governing body does, we do not. But it would be for 1 tenant, and we would simply be talking about different names, correct?
That's correct.
And I apologize because I'd have to look hard at the ordinance to include, take a look at to include whether or not we could potentially be usurping our authority. It's a technicality, but that's more than a technicality.
But
It-
if I can help you perhaps here, I think in this case, this is a non-conforming sign application which was granted relief under the DNF application. And here in this case, the board is just modifying that prior approval of relief that was granted to this site.
Is what I've contemplated is modifying that approval, and instead of tying it to a name, tying it to the measurements.
And it would be simply for this particular circumstance.
Correct.
And in that sense, it appears to me as if we would not be legislating from the bench, so to speak, and not usurping the governing body's authority to zone by ordinance, by way, in fact, exceptions.
So I have, so follow.
Zoning variances are exceptions from.
I have a nitpicky question too, but what if you do rent it to somebody else if Compass leaves with a very, very large name, Abercrombie and Fitch or whatnot? I mean, what are the limitations, then
They're
we
gonna have to meet the ordinance otherwise.
Well, the resolution,
so-
the original resolution had a limitation on the area and the height.
Yeah,
So,
we would
but
have to
then-
size the letters down, keep it at 35 square feet within that within that width of the building. And if the letters got smaller, they would have to get smaller.
And I
But it would be just for
apologize,
1 tenant.
I apologize for belaboring it, but and this is, I'm gonna ask Grant, this is familiarity with the ordinance provisions, and the other ordinance provisions with respect to signage are admittedly better than mine. If it were a long name and we're shrinking, there is a requirement that we have a certain size of letter.
That's
It can't be
correct.
too small because it could be difficult to read. And from the road, that could be a traffic concern.
Correct.
That's why I was asking.
Well, I think we have a maximum, our ordinance is a maximum of 24 inches in most sections before. We've stipulated to a maximum of 18 inches. But if
I
it
think the
had been
minimum
smaller,
is the concern.
right, but I think if we got a lengthy tenant, we would, obviously we have to deal with that because we still have to fit in the, and again, it's really more of a pride. It's not so much for wayfinding because again, traffic coming, heading east on Milburn Avenue, this panel is recessed 6 feet and blocked by the second floor.
You just read Abercrombie.
So, yeah, they would just have to,
Oh, yeah, I guess we
Just lease it to
we want to be careful that it doesn't potentially cause a problem.
It's a backlit sign?
It is actually not. There are lights currently that were put on the building in anticipation. They shine up against the building. They extend about 15 to 18 inches off the building. They shine back up on it. We actually would have preferred a halo light, but they're not backlit. They are simple letters that are pin mounted to the building. Your planner has asked us to research whether they could be mounted onto a chase so that we don't have as many penetrations in the building where we can consider that. But that background would be no larger than the 17.81 square feet that we stipulated to.
And we had the
lighting into that stipulation, if that does, if that, the lighting has to remain the same, and I don't know if there's lighting.
The lighting is
requirements in the
existing,
ordinance.
it's already been installed.
You can see it. Right, but so if they do change the sign out later, we said, okay, that this is fine, if it's within this area, but then they do change it to a backlit or frontlit type, whatever. That it's still acceptable.
Well, I think this is the case, and Steve, you feel free to opine, but I mean, this building has a type plan approval, and the lighting plan was part of that type plan approval, so these light fixtures were part of what the board originally approved.
They'd have to
And
come back if they were
modifications
gonna
to that
change it.
Would require an amendment.
Okay, so they gotta come back
Yes.
if they change the lighting.
That's correct.
It's not included as a sign.
Correct.
Okay.
And our ordinance does not already require a minimum letter size for visibility and safety reasons, correct? That doesn't stop us, though, in this case, based upon this variance relief sought and special request, so to speak, from if there our planner or engineer had a minimum lettering size, if the board so desired, to make sure that the change in name is not one that's going to result in letters diminished in size to the point where there may be a concern.
We could certainly allow some flexibility and say a minimum of 12 inches and a maximum of 18.
Mr. Kelly, yeah,
I'm fine with that. I think, 12 inches is more than sufficient, given the placement of the sign. The low speeds along there. So if they're agreeable to 12 inches as a minimum, that's fine by me.
So I think we have the parameters, again, should the board grant the relief and follow through with the observation and suggestion so as to minimize, if not alleviate, the need for the applicant or successors to have to come back to the board. And I think we can do it that way without usurping the governing body's authority. We have that authority within the context of granting zoning relief.
We need to add single tenant,
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry?
right.
single tenant too, that's the
Yeah,
other.
oh, I got the single pack, yeah, no, I got it all. Yep.
Good, just checking.
All the parameters, yeah.
We think it's important to have a single tenant though. We don't want to be fighting for space up there. It's more elegant that one.
I was part of the board when the original application came through 2022. I must say the building has come out really well. Every time I drive past, Melbourne Avenue, I peek to the right and it's acting nice. So the question I had was, I know there's a golf, indoor golf on tenant 1, I believe. So tenant 2 is it still vacant or is there?
Yeah, the golf simulator took both spaces. So
Okay.
they only have one sign
They only have
and
one
one door that's used. They took both as a permitted use.
And if I can, just to expound upon Mr. Hiller's comments regarding my comment for the planning report regarding the raceway panel or the panel behind. The intent there, just the suggestion is that by mounting these are individually pin mounted letters which have 2, 3, 4 penetrations per letter. So by having those go directly into the facade, when those are changed out for a subsequent new tenant, you're left with all these penetrations in the facade. By having a panel behind, then the letters can just change on that panel face. Which limits, flexibility for longevity. That's just the purpose of my comment. Just wanted to clarify.
But, and just so I'm clear though, is that would that amount to, should the applicant stipulate to it or the board impose it?
I would leave it up to the board, just, I'm happy to answer any questions or clarification, but that's just the nature of my recommendation. So in this case.
Well, I would always start with, if I may, Mr. Chairman, I would always start with that the applicant is willing to stipulate, in which case the board doesn't have to take the stipulation, but they have the option. Always want to give my board an option.
Sure.
You know what, there are buildings in the town that are historic limestone buildings, and it's been a sin to see them have multiple penetrations. This one's not as precious, it's fairly new, and I think those penetrations are easier to mend than the old limestone facades that were on Milburn Avenue further down by the front. If the board felt strongly about it, I mean, clearly it's in my client's best interest, the owner of the building, to limit any damage, but if we were to come back with another sign, I think it's immaterial to us. I think I prefer to have it left to the owner's discretion, and the sign company's discretion. But I think it's in the owner's best interest to limit the penetration. There's generally 2 penetrations per letter. so they're not generally multiple on an 18-inch lens. But, and it's not lit, so there's no other penetration, so we're somewhat, agnostic on the question, but I prefer to leave it to my client and their tenants' discretion. We take that to heart, and clearly my client wants to protect the building, but we'll agree with whatever this board feels.
Determine
I
that.
don't feel strongly about it. I mean, I feel like if the size of it changes, then the backboard's not big enough, that's gonna have to come off, something else go on. Feels like it's easy enough to catch up with it. It's not some historic. It's not very. Not yet.
We hope someday.
So we'll take it as a good comment, but won't hold to it. Thanks, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. I looked at the site tonight and I saw the lights that are on the building. It looks like those lights are in conflict with where that sign's going to go. Is that true or?
No, they're not. They're facing down, but they will be turned up, which is where they were supposed to be originally. They don't provide any light over the driveway, but they will sit right under the proposed lights.
Okay, so those lights will be up lights and not the down lights that they are
They'll
today.
be similar to the other lights which are on the first floor side where the two retail tenants were anticipated. Those lights face up to they face on the sign. These were intended to face on the sign. Just when they got installed with no signage there, somebody decided to turn them down. They'll be turned up, which was the original anticipated orientation.
Okay, and that's consistent with the
prior.
okay. I didn't see the prior approval, and obviously I was not the engineer at that time, so as long as that's what was approved, then I have no comments.
Just a question, Graham, too.
Yes.
The only thing that we're looking for the amendment of the variance is the height, right? So if it was 8 inches shorter or 8 inches lower, there wouldn't be a problem, right? They could do what they wanted to do, as long as it's been in the sign ordinance.
Well, I think as long, the applicant stipulated between 12 and 18 inches, so that.
No, I'm talking about the mounting height.
Oh, the mountain.
The reason for the variance.
No,
Right.
well, that was, so just to be clear, the variance was granted under the prior application. The purpose of the amendment of here this evening is that it was indicated on the prior site plan approval that this sign location would contain the building names. And now the applicant is switching to a tenant sign.
Right, okay, but if we, my concern is that we're gonna grant this for perpetually for whenever the name changes. Just wanna make sure that we're not giving any favoritism to them, that if it were another business, let's say, Clemenza's or whatever, who is in or underneath the 15 feet of the first story, that they don't have to come to the planning board if they change their name, that they just have to comply with the sign ordinance.
So the signage program here for this building is set forth by these approvals. So the sign locations are, indicated on, the bottom plan here. Those are the approved sign locations. We could have one in each of those locations. As far as future tenancy or, change of tenants, as long as the sign conforms to the size, location, height, all things that were part of the original approvals, the sign can change over time.
And we physically can't place a sign over the driveway that conforms because we want the driveway to be tall enough to allow refuse vehicles to get in there, emergency vehicles. So it's really set by the underside of the floor, and we couldn't get a sign to comply. So any sign that goes there is always going to be placed into that second floor line or above the second floor level. The same. So there's no way we can do an end run and get a different tenant and hang the letters below or something like that.
And yeah, I don't want to create a loophole for any other applications that are gonna come in. It's just,
Also, for example, just in furtherance to your point, the indoor golf simulator has a sign in the approved retail 1 location that's indicated on the plan. That did not come before this board because that was the approved location for the sign.
and if they decide to change that, they don't have to come before the board, even though it was in their application, right?
If they decided to change,
Let's say a new tenant comes in and they change that.
as long as it's in the same location, size stipulated, consistent with the site plan approval, yes. It can be a new name, tenant, whatever.
Okay, so it's just.
If they choose to move it up, down, make it bigger, wider, taller, go on the diagonal, those are where things start to change and that they would have to return back here.
Okay, so let's say Clemenza's, who, I don't know when they were last before the board, if they were before the board, if their sign changes, what happens to them?
So I wanna, I know we're kind of drifting a little bit of field. This is this case is unique in that we have rendered a site plan approval to this site and this building.
Okay.
Menzies, I mean, that's a pre-existing, you know, they've been there for quite some time, so that would just be a change of tenancy, new sign installation through a zoning correct process. Here, because we have a resolution,
Yes.
approval rendered for this site with a signage plan as part of that application, that's why things are a little bit different for this building.
That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
I mean, and if I grant you do call out the bulk variance, though, the wall graphics not extending above the second floor line or above the roof line, of which the building. So, was that granted in the, I apologize for not knowing, in the prior approval, or is that a new variance?
No, it was granted in the prior approval, we were just being clear that,
I'm just wondering why you pulled that one out and only that one
yeah,
out.
it's just kind of a technical. We're just
Okay,
being a little overly thorough in our, so.
okay, all right, so it's not,
So the
that
new
relief
variance.
was already granted.
Right, that relief was already granted.
Thank
Are there any questions from the public for this witness?
Do you rest? No further witnesses?
No further witnesses.
You can reserve your right to an eloquent 30-minute summation, but so now we can go to the public. If there's any public comment.
Are there any public comments? Okay, no public comments?
Under 30 minutes, I think. No summation. It's to the board?
Yes.
Okay. And then it's a, if the board is, so desires to approve the application, it's an amended, I guess technically it's an amended preliminary and final major site plan approval, notwithstanding the relative modesty of what's being asked for. With, well, actually, that's not a new variance. So that is it. But the conditions will be those set forth in various reports. I had one other issue I wanted to raise, and that is, the previous approval, all conditions will remain, conditions going forward. They will not be changed. That's standard. Has there been compliance, at least thus far, if not complete compliance, with all conditions of the original approval? Do we know?
To my knowledge, yes.
Well,
We're
suffice
gonna
to
be-
say that this approval will include all conditions that are not inconsistent with this approval will remain in full force and effect and must be satisfied to the extent they haven't already been. And we would have the additional relief clarified such that they would now have to come back on the change of a single tenancy with the parameters of 12 inches to 18 inches minimum maximum letter size for the sign. I think that is it. So that's the relief before the board, majority passage. Everything we do just is majority passage.
Does anybody like to make a motion?
Make a second.
Roll call vote, please.
Corey Biller,
Yes.
Allison Canfield,
Yes.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Deborah Nevis,
Yes.
Frank Sacamandi,
Yes.
Michael Zion,
Yes.
Jonathan Baxter,
Yes.
Vice Chair Srini Vijay,
Yes.
Chair Gaston Happer.
Yes.
Did you go to 10?
Nope. No, that would be Sir.
Oh, you went to 9, okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So thank you for moving executive session after the application.
You brought a book this time, though, right?
I did, I brought work to do.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm going to excuse myself since I can't be here. Happy holidays to all, and I will see you in January.
Thank you. Happy holidays, happy
Thank
birthday.
That's why. I think they own. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, you know, goes the other one. That was.
Okay, I think we're ready to make necessary motions to move into executive session. Mr. Warner, could you please tee us up?
Certainly, I'm not gonna go through the entire resolution, but summary fashion, and it'll be most technical for the executive session. For the purposes of accepting the Public Meeting Act under 12B7 or pending litigation, specifically High Center for Living Judaism versus Township of Milton and Township of Milton Planning Board, docket number 25-CB-17318. And this executive session, the minutes therefrom will be released when the confidentiality the same is no longer deemed necessary by the board, and the resolution shall go into effect immediately. And again, a motion second, roll call vote.
Make a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Corey Pillar,
Yes.
Allison Canfield,
Yeah.
Michael Cohen,
Yes.
Deborah Nevis,
Yes.
Frank Sacamandi,
Yes.
Michael Zion,
Yes.
Jonathan Baxter,
Yes.
Vice Chair Srini Vijay.
Yes.
Chair Augustine Hopper.
Yes. Just a note, we'll be turning the camera off and we'll not be turning it on for the remainder of this meeting, but we will come back into session and close the meeting for. If you'd like to see it, you're welcome to come afterwards.
So then no formal action will be taken hereafter.